Early Quranic manuscripts like Al-Husseini are consistently contributed to Uthman when they clearly are not. Muslims must consider the possibility that the standard Islamic narrative, when it comes to the Quran, is not the true story of how the Quran came into existence. For the last few episodes, we've been zooming in and highlighting a number of early Quranic manuscripts, and today is a continuation of that focus. We are going to talk today about a manuscript that is found in Egypt. It's called Al-Husseini, basically manuscript. And with me here, of course, to unpack the background behind this manuscript is Dr. J. Smith. Dr. J, thank you again, and welcome back.
Thank you. Now, before we get into the Husseini, I want to just point out something. I have another manuscript here that is not part of the six that Al-Husseini looked at. This is the St. Petersburg manuscript that is in St. Petersburg in Russia. There are other ones. Interestingly, when you look at the cover in the English, it's in Russian and English, it says the Quran of Uthman.
Mm-hmm.
It says the Quran of Uthman, and then you look at it and you open it up, and you will see that when you actually look at it, it's whoops, I have it upside down here. Let's get it right side up. When you look at it, it's got many of the same problems. This is the Hijazi script, much like the Petropolitanus, very similar to the Petropolitanus and also to the Ma'il that we looked at earlier. And you notice it's very similar to that. It doesn't have any diacritical marks. It does not have any vowelization, the 5 dots or the 3 vowels in any of these. It does have some medallions where the verses are, more so than those do. So this is probably even after those. But they're claiming that this is Uthmanic. Yet this is surely, and this one is a late 8th century, early 9th century that has been this. So they always say Uthman here. I just want to point out this one here. The Musaf al-Sharif attributed to Uthman ibn Affan. Again, this is attributed. Why do they keep doing that? Well, because this is the popular notion that all of these manuscripts come from Uthman.
Right.
Remember, Uthman only had one, and none of these are the same. Take a look at this one. This is a completely different script. This is the Kufic script. That's the what they call the Hijazi script. Completely different script. This is a much later script, much more stylized, much more beautifully, much more handicraft, proving that this is a much later state, still attributed to Uthman. And that's the lie that we have to be careful with. A lot of the Muslims are just lying through the teeth. Now, at least it says attributed. And Al-Husseini in the introduction is very careful to say, as we've noted, that he says none of these are from Uthman. So he does say that. Then why does he keep it on the cover?
Well, like you said, it's the popular view.
It's the popular. Let's go to the Husseini one and let's take a look at this one here. Here you can see it's a huge manuscript.
Monumental, yeah.
It's monumental. It's doubly monumental. You don't stick that in your back pocket and walk around town with it. So it is certainly after late 8th century, even 9th century. And most of these most of the scholars are putting this to the 9th century. You can see it has much like the other ones. You have large drawings. These are geometric drawings. In fact, when you look at this, they actually go into these drawings, showing them where they come from different mosques. And that's why you can pretty well know that this is also a later script from that. Conclusion of Al-Husseini and Ekmen al-Sanlu on the Husseini manuscript. First and foremost, they say right from the beginning, this is not Uthmanic. It is dated from the early to mid 8th century. Other scholars like Dorosh put it to the 9th century. So that's where a dispute comes in. Again, you're talking about 100 years difference in their dating. How is it that Ekmen and Al-Husseini say? They don't really say why they make that claim. They just know it's not 7th century. So they're putting it back to after Al-Hajjaj and after Al-Malik. That's true. They're making it in the 8th century. It was stated that the Cairo copy, and this is the Husseini manuscript, might have been written on the order of the Abd-Aziz ibn Marwan, the governor of Egypt. However, the reason for reaching this conclusion has not been explained. This is their quote. We share the view that this copy is not one of the Muslims attributed to Caliph Uthman at all. What's more, when you look at it, and you'll see it has manuscript variants, but this is what's interesting. Look at the manuscript variants. Every one of these are coverings. This is something that the Husseini manuscript has a
erasers or deletions, basically.
No, these are coverings. These are not erasers or deletions.
The idea is to erase something by covering it. You don't want it to be read.
These are tapings.
Right.
I hope you all realize that. So you can see a tape there, a tape there, a tape there. Look at that. They're taping over, covering over top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on this page right here. When you're doing that, you're right. They're erasing, they're
That's the category.
censoring
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So when Dan Brubaker looked at this, he says, wow, they're not even trying to hide it. They're not even writing over top of it. They're not even including it. They are, but we'll never know until we are able to give it. You can see a little bit of the line. You can see a little of one that's coming from below. We will never know what's on what they're covering because it's now been censored. So what has been left behind?
Whatever matches today's Quran.
Whatever matches this Quran, the Hafs text, the Continental text. Here's one especially. This one is almost laughable. I'm not even going to go into all of them. Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different coverings on just one page. It is so censored that what's left over almost just looks like chicken scratches. So you can see, you can hardly read it. You even have a hard, well, you can't read because of the dots and the vowels are missing as well. But can you see, there is so much censorship on this manuscript that it's hard to take this seriously. And yet this is the problem that Muslims aren't aware of. And you Muslims who are watching this, you've got to show us and you've got to prove with us that this could be anything near what would be have written, even at the time of Abdul Malik and Al-Hajjaj. This has been attributed to Uthman. It has nothing to do with Uthman, much, much later. And yet all these coverings, all these erasers, all these coverings over top and writing over tops, that you do that when you're trying to standardize it, when you're censoring it, full of censorship here, proving that even after Al-Hajjaj and Malik, they're still censoring it, they're still covering it. So it matches the Continental text of this. Now stop and think, when was this chosen? This was chosen during the Ottoman period as the official text.
Right.
The Ottomans come to power in 1299. That means almost every one of these corrections are done after 1299, the 13th century. So between the 13th century up till the 1924, almost all these corrections were done. So for the 13th up to the 20th, so that 700-year period is where we know all this happened. And the reason why, because the Ottomans controlled all these manuscripts. Remember, the Ottoman Empire controlled Baghdad and Damascus. They controlled all the material that was that they dispersed to all the different cities. Now, of course, the ones that are in London and Paris didn't used to be in London and Paris. They were then bought by the British Library. They were bought by the Bibliothèque Nationale, but they came from other sources, from other parts of the Muslim world. During the Ottoman Empire, you can then see why you had wholesale censorship, standardization to bring it down so it matched the Continental text that we see now, what we call the Hafs text that was chosen in 1924.
Wonderful, wonderful work as always. Thank you so much for highlighting this. Next time, I'm going to talk about yet another one of those early Quranic manuscripts. This one is a palimpsest. It's called the Sana manuscript. It's a collection of many manuscripts, but there are specific ones that we are going to focus on. Until next time, have a blessed day. Thank you for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel CIRA International and click on the bell so that you receive notifications whenever we publish a new video or go live. I would also like to appeal to you to consider becoming a Patreon patron by clicking the link right below. By doing so, you can give towards the production of these videos. There are also other options for you where you can give to our channel. I thank you from the bottom of my heart.